Thank you all so much for joining. It's always great to see you on screen. My name is Lindsay Gleason, and I'm the Assistant Director here at the Community Foundation, and we're excited to kick off our first third Thursday of the year. Happy 2024, everyone, with guests from NRVCS, Mike Wade and Ross Wilsie. Before I hand it over to them, I will just share a few announcements. Typically, we try to have a third Thursday meeting the third Thursday of every month, but sometimes we change things up a little bit. And we try to keep it in the from 9 to 10 each month, but next month we'll shift it a little bit. So you can mark your calendars for February 15th, and it will be shifted to 10:30 to 11:30, and we're going to be kicking off talking about all things Give Local NRV Giving Day. And that will be the day that the Giving Day sign up opens up, and we'll be talking about that. And then in March, we won't have a third Thursday, but the annual Livability Exchange is happening. And I can send the registration links for both those events out to you all after this meeting. But that will be a half-day event in Blacksburg, and that's always a great way to learn about all the amazing things happening in our region and just thinking about planning for the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike and Ross, and they're going to be talking about the HopeHub app and how this community resource is going to be able to help all of us, and they're ready to do a demo and answer your questions. So guys, just let me know if you need me to help you with sharing your screen or anything, but please take it away.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. So Ross and I, as Lindsay stated, work for New River Valley Community Services. We specifically work under the Community Wellness and Outreach team. I've been within our VCS for this year will be 24 years. And Ross, you've been around for what, 12 or so?
Yes, sir. Coming up on 13. Yeah.
Yeah. So time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It
and
does.
we primarily focus on addressing issues around mental health and substance use disorders, prevention of those issues, community wellness in general. And, a lot of what we recognize in our work in the behavioral health field is that a lot of folks who come to our agency for help have needs that go outside the bounds of what we are able to provide to them directly. And so the reality is, as you all know from being in this sphere, that we see a lot of the same faces, and a lot of the same people come through our doors that come through your doors at your respective shops. So despite the presence that NRVCS and a lot of our other organizations have in the community, you still find quite often, much to my surprise sometimes, that folks aren't aware of the services or resources that are actually available in the New River Valley. And we have a wealth of great organizations and resources out there for folks to get help from. So when we first started talking about developing an app, what we really wanted to do was try and find a way to make it easier for folks to get connected to those resources. And we work in behavioral health. We're not tech people. App development is not something that Ross and I have any background in. And so with some one-time funding that we had that was connected to COVID under the Congressional Appropriations Act, we decided to set aside some of that funding to pursue a contract to get an app developed that would be very specific to the New River Valley. This app does not reach out into Roanoke, Bluefield, Princeton, outlying areas. We're really trying to focus on the 5 jurisdictions that make up the greater New River Valley that most of our organizations are responsible for serving. And so it was about this time last year that we developed an RFP and put that out for development of this app, and wound up contracting with a local provider to create the app for us. That's been a process. In 2023, Ross and I spent a lot of time in meetings to kind of map out what we wanted it to look like. what we wanted to include, the navigation, all the things that we felt would make it useful and attractive to potential residents of the New River Valley. So fast forward to mid-November of 2023, and we were able to finally get that ready to launch to the public. And we're about 2 months in at this point. I think Ross and I would be the first to tell you that we don't expect this to be the answer to all of our prayers. This isn't a silver bullet that's going to take care of all the needs and all the challenges that are out there. There are just so many needs that sometimes don't go addressed, and it would probably be impossible for us, even with the best of intentions and time spent, to include every single resource that's out there. The key to being listed with this resource app is that your organization or entity must have a Google business profile. Ross has put together a very helpful and user-friendly resource guide, a one-pager. If you have challenges around that, or you're not sure about your organization's Google profile listing, he's got a great resource, a one-pager that you can follow very easily to get that taken care of. And a lot of you have already responded, and you're included on the app. We haven't called everybody at this point. We did use one-time funding to get the app developed, but we also are committed to allocating money from our operational budget moving forward so that we can continue to keep it updated, keep it relevant, keep it timely, because we recognize that if this thing lags at all in the information that's on it, people will be turned off and they'll stop using it. And we really want it to be a viable tool that folks can use to get the help that they need. And so that's just kind of the background. We literally just this morning got some utilization data for the first 2 months of use since it's been out there to the public. And I'm going to turn it over to Ross to kind of walk you through utilization of the app itself and to talk a little bit more about the process with being listed and being included on the app if you're not already, as well as some of that utilization data that I mentioned. Ross, are you all set?
Sure. Yes, sir.
All right,
Thanks,
take it away.
All right. Yeah, I'll just briefly mention some of that utilization data. Again, we just got this. So so we do have a download link on our website and also a QR code that kind of goes along with that. And sorry, I'm dealing with two screens here. So you may see me on two different screens, but anyway, so the download link itself basically just says, this is how many people clicked on the link to potentially download it. We've had 479 clicks on that, which is great. And this is going back to middle of November. Then for iOS, which would be your iPhone or iPad devices, we've had, it looks like, total downloads 1,600, which is a lot, in my mind at least. Then if you look at the last one we have, which is Android, Google Play Store, that would be about 317 downloads. So that's pretty good in my mind. That seems like a lot of downloads given, our community size and things like that. So now what I'm going to try to do is switch over to sharing my screen on my phone, which will show you the app. So let's see how that goes. All right. So can everybody see that? Just a couple head nods would be great. Okay, cool. So this is what it looks like, and you can download this from either our website by going to nrvcs.org/HopeHub, and you'll see a clear download link there. You can also just go to your Apple, the Apple Store, App Store, or the Google Play Store, and search for HopeHub, and you should find it. What we've been adamant about the whole time with this app is we don't want any data collection. So that means you don't need to set up any accounts. You can't set up any accounts or anything to use this app. It will not collect any data about you. It needs to know that, yeah, you downloaded it, but it's not you as a person. It's just saying an Android device or an iOS device downloaded it, just so we have that number, but it does not collect your location or anything like that. So there's no data collection. This is what the home screen looks like. It starts you out on a map, and it does kind of center it in the middle of the NRV-ish. Again, because it's not collecting location data at this point, it's not going to show you, start you exactly where you are, but you can sort of navigate around the NRV, just dragging your finger across the map if you want to search for things that way, just close to where you are potentially. Any listing that we have in the app will show up as one of these little icons, and they kind of each symbolize a particular category of listing. So if I were to tap on one, let's go right here. That says Blacksburg United Methodist Preschool. So I can see what that is, and then and then I can keep tapping on them and see what they are. So that's one way to do it. Probably not how most people will interact with the app itself. That will be more in the search area or just scrolling through these categories. So I'll just show you the search function briefly. So if I tap in there and I can, let's say I'm looking for New Life. Type New Life, and there's New Life Recovery Center, Residential Substance Abuse Services. So if I tap on the listing, it will bring up the details with a description. We do show the Google rating here, which can be useful, but it's a little bit, we're back and forth on that, because sometimes just the nature of the business or the organization itself, they're probably going to get lower Google ratings in some cases. So, take that for what it's worth, but we do include that. And again, because of the Google Business Profile stuff that Mike talked about, where that's how you're going to be listed here, all of the data that you see here is pulled directly from that profile. So if it's inaccurate in here, it's just because it's inaccurate in the business profile on Google. So you'll see the description, and then below that, there's a little button to press to call the organization. So that will just launch your phone app. There's also a favorites icon here if I wanted to save it to come back to later, and I'll show you how to get to your favorites in just a second. Then the far right icon is a map icon if you want to pull it up on your device's map app. That way you can get navigation instructions and directions to the business. Okay. So that's searching. Then you can also go down to the categories and view listings that way. Okay, so if I find a category I'm looking for, let's say youth services, I can tap on it and then scroll through the listings that way. Okay. Down at the bottom, you'll see the home button on the far left. So if you ever need to get right back to this home screen, you can tap that. Then there's the favorites. So that's anything that I've saved in the past that I want to come back to. So there's my favorites. I just have one. And then on the far right, there's a crisis button. So this would be if the individual using the app was in some sort of crisis and they needed to call somebody immediately or text, the emergency button if I were to tap that, would be would dial 911. The non-emergency would dial our access line, which is 540-961-8400. And then the text option is going to text 988. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So 988 is the latest crisis hotline, which, you know, it will, if it's a local area code, it will contact somebody locally, a call center locally. However, if it's not a local area code, it could be out of the area. Anything else you want to say on that, Mike?
Yeah, just for those of you who aren't aware, 988 is the new national crisis lifeline number that you can call or text. Used to be the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline that was a 1-800 number, but back in July of 2022, that was changed to 988, just to make it a little easier for folks to get help.
All right. That is the gist of how you navigate through the app. It's very simple. It's not, we didn't want it to be complicated or complex. And there are still plenty of organizations that we want to get in here. I know we've heard from some folks recently, and so we are adding people and organizations regularly. So just let us know. You can either go to that website. There's an email address there to contact us, or you can just email info@nrvcs.org, and we will make sure to get your organization added. And what else? Anything else, Mike, that you can think of that I didn't mention about the app specifically?
No, I think you've pretty well covered it, Ross. I guess at this point, we'll just begin to take questions from anyone that might have those.
I had a question. We have our I work at New River Community College, by the way, but so shelter and food and then mental health, that's kind of the three things I end up dealing with on a daily basis. But we have our students, like when they're coming in, there's this app that we use that most community colleges do, and it's kind of it's called Single Stop. But I was hoping that this app may in some way alleviate the need for that, because it's a screener and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and it'll tell them what they potentially, and the students think, hey, it comes up, I'm eligible for SNAP. You know, they think that they've done everything there is to do. And I said, no, this is just kind of like telling you that you should do this. And I hate to do that, but it's kind of a PCCS thing. But that said, I guess somebody had told me, I mean, I like what we have here, but was there not something that kind of leads you to DSS, or where you can, or am I just totally off base here? Somebody emailed me about that, and I was hoping that I would hear something about that here today. No?
So Mark, if someone that you are working with, a student or whatever, has a need for, say, shelter or clothing or food access, that kind of thing, they can certainly pull up our app and go to that particular category, that particular need, and then find the local resources under that category that they would actually be able to contact directly and see if they're eligible or if they can access the resources that particular organization or entity has available. So in that sense, Mark, I think it's probably a good option for your students, because it is in fact locally based.
Yeah, and it's hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But I'm just kind of thinking long term, you know, where, you know, and we have a lot of this same crisis hotline kind of stuff on our webpage here as well. Not as easy to access as this, though. But yeah, I was just trying to figure out ways to.
Yeah. So I would just add to that it's not like a direct line, you know, to any organization where we're connected with them through this app so that, we can have somebody access them directly. That way, it's more of like a replacement for what we used to have, which is a paper, document that's got everybody listed. So, yeah.
Well, following up on that, your statement about the paper document, do you have any kind of promotional materials like posters and such that entities can have to get the word out there about this app?
Yeah, we've got a flyer, Scott, that I'll drop in the chat for you.
Okay.
And we are working on some additional marketing materials that we can distribute and give out at tabling events, community events, that kind of thing, in the coming year.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing, if an organization is participating with this on the HopeHub, is there something that like on their website that would show the icon or something so people would know?
That's a great thought. I like that idea. We'll make a note of that and try to figure out a way to do that.
Very good.
That's a great idea. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Quick question. Next week is the point in time count for the New River Valley that New River Community Action is leading. It would be great to be able to get something that we can hand out to the folks that we find the night of the 24th. Some of them don't have phones, but for those who do, it would be great to be able to let them know about this great resource right away.
Yeah, Jill, we are in fact working on some business cards that have the QR code for the app that someone could just scan with their phone to get access to that. We should have those by next week. I think you told me your event is the 24th. Is that right?
Correct.
I will do my very best to get you a supply of those before your event next week.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions?
I guess I'm interested in hearing how, whether you've had any success in having actual clients use the system so far. So you gave us some utilization data, Ross. Do you have any sense of whether anybody's actually using that to find a referral?
I know that Chris Alderman, a gentleman that works for the New River Health District, that's a very well recognized person in recovery, long term, has shared this with some of the individuals that he encounters out in the community, and he has shared with me that it's already proven to be a great help to some of the folks that he works with. So that's really, I guess, the first anecdotal kind of validation of the app that I've received.
And of course, it all assumes that those potential clients have phones with app capability, which is, but of course, you have to do what you can do. Some will, some will not, right?
True. And that's something we talked a lot about. And we know it's not going to be a help to everyone for that very reason. Are folks who live in communities where they don't have necessarily access to Wi-Fi, good Wi-Fi, or that kind of technology. So it's not a cure-all. I wish it were, but it's a step in the right direction, I think. Anything helps as far as I'm concerned when it comes to connecting people with resources, because you don't know until you know, and a lot of people just really struggle with that. And I found that just in our agency, and I mean, we served 12,000 residents last year, so I mean, we've got a pretty big foothold on the community, that unless you or someone in your immediate family has a need for the type of services that we provide, you probably don't know much about who we are and what we do. And I think that's true for a lot of organizations.
I guess I would like Ross to put up the app again and show us the categories. I mean, I saw the top 3 or 4, but show us all the categories so I have a sense of what the coverage is for the organizations that are so far gathered.
Sure.
Let's see here. All right. So starting at the top here, crisis and mental health,
Okay.
victim services, food,
Is that like food banks? That's what you're including in there?
Yeah, basically, or an organization that's able to provide direction or resources food related. So here's some listings in the food category. So yes,
Yep.
a lot of food pantries, that type of thing. Okay.
Uh-huh. Although it'd be nice if some of those had in their titles what their jurisdiction was.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them say where they're located, and others you would have no idea until you go into the.
That's true, and I think that is one of the feature requests we have in with our developer. I'd have to look back to confirm that, but just to show a brief description of where it is, whether it's Dublin or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I believe that's coming soon.
We have had that discussion.
Okay.
Yes.
Clothing and personal care.
Mm-hmm. Addiction and treatment, housing, transportation, medical and dental, employment and legal, disability and senior services, youth services, veteran services, and recreation.
Could you show me the senior services part?
Sure.
Who's in there?
So starting at the top, and that's the bottom.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Anything else you were wanting to see?
No, that's good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. So when I'm looking at crisis and I see crisis and mental health, the first call for housing for folks is to the New River Community Action Hotline. So I guess I'm just curious, like, is there a way that we can identify that if someone is in need of housing, they're homeless or they need shelter for the night, is there a way to kind of make it more clear, like that would be their first call, and then also like that would connect them to our house and the family shelter and those sorts of things? I guess I'm just wondering, like, it's not New River Community Action listed in housing and transportation is there, but it doesn't, like, it's kind of the homeless and housing programs note in their Google profile is a little bit buried. So I'm just trying to think of a way that we can let folks know, like, if they need shelter, how they can find that.
I hear what you're saying, Jill. I think just trying to figure out a way to make New River Community Action more prominent under the housing category. Is that what you're saying?
Well, just letting them know, like, yes, so that folks know that if they're in need of emergency assistance, that's where we're directing folks, is to their hotline. So it's staffed 24 hours a day, I believe. So I guess I just want folks who are in need of shelter to know that that's their first call.
We might have to give that some thought. Just this morning and trying to think about how that would play out on the app. I'm not really sure how we would do that easily. But
Okay.
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think that makes sense. I'm just not sure how to pull it off.
Okay.
Given the
And
structure.
maybe it's just listing the shelters with the New River Community Action. So if To Our House shelter is listed, and then the access phone number for that would point you to the New River Community Action Hotline. Maybe that would be another option.
Do you know if To Our House has its own Google profile?
I know they have a Facebook page, but I'm not sure if I don't know that they have a Google profile, but I'll check with Carol.
That might be something to consider if they don't have that.
Okay,
Then that would give them the opportunity to have a separate listing on the app just for that.
okay. All right, I'll talk to her about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, Mike and Ross, I'm just wondering, thank you guys for walking through this. If there's anything that we can do to help either promote this or just, kind of how do we help you guys get the word out more? So obviously flyers are great. We can share social media posts. We can look at hosting sessions for service providers on how to, update their profiles. I mean, because I know how much time and energy you all have put into this. What can we do to help you, make it as robust as possible in terms of usage?
I really think, Jess, anything that you can do around promotion and just spreading the word, and even just as simple as saying, well, why don't you go to nrvcs.org/HopeHub, and that's just an easy gateway for them to get into the app or to get their organization listed as a provider, a resource. I think that's really, at this point, that's the primary goal for us, is just to get the word out there so more people know about it and they can get it on their phones.
Right. Thanks.
And I will say too, that, from time to time, it would be wise for anyone who uses this app to go into their Play Store and just hit update, because there are going to be updates that happen over time, and you want to make sure that you've got the latest version of the app on your device.
There's got to be one person that's technically, and I can't do this stuff. But anyway, I put the app on earlier when Ross was talking, and my Google Maps didn't. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't have Google Maps on my phone, but I scroll back over and I do. You know how it pulled up on yours? Why would mine didn't do that?
The map at the top of the screen?
No, Ross, when you were on your home page and you were pointing down, you know what I'm saying? Those two things didn't show up on my phone.
So let me pull it back up just to clarify here.
I wonder if it, I think it depends on the listing as well. Some don't seem to have, connect to the app. Can you kind of share the difference?
That is true, yes. So let's see, I pull up Floyd County 4-H. So are you saying you don't see the little black icon on the bottom right?
No, go back to, just push home, or go back to your just home page.
Got it.
All right, so if you look up at the top where the map is and everything, right there where Google Maps and the bright blue arrow,
I see.
They don't come up on my app.
Now, I just noticed that this morning, and I'm honestly,
I mean,
I know what it is, because that's different from the last time I used the app, actually. But I think what it is if you tap on one of these listings. So again, I'll tap on that one. I believe that's when those two little icons will show up. Let me try relaunching the app here. Yeah, so you see it's not there anymore.
Okay.
So, but if I were to go and tap on one of these, that would show up. So try that on yours and you should probably see the same thing.
Yeah, I just did that on mine, and that's what happened.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry to be that guy.
No, not at all. That's a
No
great
problem.
question. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
I guess I have another question about the promotions and trying to reach the front lines, because most people know I'm with the museum, but I also work with the Radford Public Library. And libraries get bombarded with these kinds of questions. So have you made, or are there plans to reach out to local libraries or police departments to let them know that this is available?
Yeah, Scott, we've made an attempt to get it out in front of everybody that we're connected to in our sort of typical collaborations, and we have a really good relationship with Elizabeth at the library, and so she's on our listserv, and I'm sure she knows about it or has seen the information about it. But you know, that brings up the kind of thing that we've been considering around promotion. So like for a library, it would make sense to have it on a bookmark, right? That kind of thing. Magnets, those sorts of giveaways and things that people can hang on to and use and keep in front of them is the kind of thing that we're talking about putting some funding into to purchase and give out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I was just trying to think of like some of the maybe the off the wall places, because I know with the museum end of things, people will ask the most random people at grocery stores or gas stations about you know, the museum in an area. So just about where that info could be found, because I think this is very valuable.
Yeah, and if anyone has suggestions, ideas about, you know, items that we can purchase and brand with the QR code, the link, that kind of thing, Ross and I are certainly open to those ideas. So don't hesitate to pass those along.
Thank you.
You bet.
I was just thinking it would be great to get it. I'm sure you're working with MCPS, but kind of if we can be sure that it trickles down to teachers and guidance counselors. And I'm even thinking that for some schools in the elementary school, they have their folders that go home at the start of the year. And it would be great to be able to include this so that that's kind of one of the things that all the parents get and everybody's expecting it to come.
Yep.
So letting them know about it. And in the meantime, I mean, a lot of the elementary schools the kids are taking home their folder weekly and stuff. So they put all sorts of stuff in there.
Another great idea. Thanks, Jill.
I had two things come to mind. This is great to walk through the app with you all. And this is one where I don't know if it's possible to do within the app, and it's probably already come to mind for you all, but I love the call button to make it so easy. And the other thing that came to mind is being able to click somewhere and go, if the organization has a website, to be able to go immediately to the website. And I would imagine with the limitations of an app, you might not be able to do that, or it might be down the line, but that's one that came to mind. And then another one that came to mind is you all are probably aware of this, but when we have the Thrive network through the Community Foundation, and we developed the food assistance directory, and we hear a lot from people who have pet food pantries in addition to food for people as well, and just wondering if that could somehow be added to the app, because I know that that's a big need for a lot of folks and a worry for folks. So those are just two things that come to mind for me.
Yeah, great thoughts. We have had conversations with the developer about adding that website option to the listings. There were a couple of snags around that. I think, Ross, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the issues was the consideration of what can be seen on the screen space-wise to allow for that.
Yes, but I think we're still trying to figure it out. So I think we may have it on there eventually. Yeah,
I think it's a great option to have that immediate access to the website of a particular resource. It's just a matter of getting the technical piece of that worked out, which is over my head.
Totally. And it's amazing how one small button, I'm sure all the work on the back end to add something, it's extraordinary to get to this point where you all are at.
This is Lori Gibbons with Mountain View Humane. And I've been sitting here thinking about an animal category because I've pulled up the app on my phone. And I'll just kind of piggyback on what Lindsay said, because we get requests for cat and dog food every single day. And if we get a big donation of food, it is gone so quickly. I'm not sure how word spreads that quickly, but it is amazing. People are in great need of that. And of course, Mountain View also provides low cost spay, neuter, and wellness exams and vaccines for any animal. It doesn't have to be for an underserved family, but if there was a category for animals, we could certainly list that there, that we could provide them with these services. We don't do extensive veterinary care, but we do spay, neuter, and basic wellness things, and the pet food pantry.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lori. And just in the work that we do in our VCS, I mean, if we have to hospitalize someone, I can't tell you how many times we've dealt with individuals in those situations, and one of the first things they ask is what I'm going to do with my dog or my cat.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, so it's something that we'll definitely give consideration to, Lori and Lindsay. I think those are really great suggestions. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sure
It's a
thing.
great app.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you so much. And this will continue to be a work in progress, folks. I mean, it's not ever going to be complete, as far as I'm concerned. We'll constantly be changing, updating, and evolving. But your input and your assistance with promoting it is really essential at this point.
Ross, I have a question again about the app, and I apologize if you explained this and I just missed it. On the app, if I go to the map and I touch one of the buttons, and the one that I touch is the blue one, and it pulls up New River Family Service. Okay, so under categories, do I scroll down to that blue button, which is housing and transportation, and then click on it to get more information about that? Because that's all I don't get a full information about New River Family Shelter.
Okay, so you find it on the map and you try to tap on it, but it just gives you basically the title of the organization. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I typed on like the blue one and it pulled up New River Family Shelter, and it gives me a little bit of information.
What I would do in that case is go to the search box and type in New River Family Shelter that way.
Okay.
That way you don't have to know which category it's in. That may be the easiest way to do it.
Okay, got it.
And sometimes in cases like that, excuse me, an acronym will work as well in the search box.
Okay.
So if I were to type in NRFS, there we go.
Okay, yeah, it did. I did it on my phone. I had the app on my phone.
So
Okay,
that
great.
may be
Thank you.
even easier. You're welcome.
This has been great, and I imagine once you got the app launched in the hands of users, you've been getting a lot of feedback, and so it's just like you said, it's one of those processes that will never end, and it's iterative. Do folks have any final questions? I thought if you could all just remind us one more time, if there's a provider on the call and they want to be listed on the app, can you just share one more time how they do that?
Sure, just email us at info@nrvcs.org. Those emails come to both Ross and I, so we'll both see those, and then we'll just take your suggestions, your additions, and add those when we send in updates to the developer to get added to the app.
Great. And so it's you want people to be opting into the app as opposed to kind of adding them yourselves.
Yes, we don't directly update the app ourselves. We just work through the developer to get those additions made. But if you just say, hey, add my organization, here's what it is, we have a Google profile, then we can just pass that on to the developer, and they'll include that with the next round of updates.
Great. Well, everyone, we'll send out the resources that Mike and Ross shared in the presentation. So you just have that in all one place, and reach out to them if you want to be added. But thank you all so much for joining today, and thank you so much for sharing about this resource. We're excited for you. I know it was a long time. It takes so long to develop something like this, and it must feel really gratifying to see it in action.
It's nice to have that box checked.
For
Finally.
sure.
And
Thank you all so much
having
for your
us.
time.
Yeah, and for giving us the support and wanting to do more to get the word out. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day and hope to see you next month. Take care.